Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market and figure out what in the hell is happening. So as usual, if you enjoy, don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section on YouTube is live. The link is below if you're interested, for $3 a month, where I share intraday updates on Tesla as it is moving. So we finally closed the day off. We closed the week and there's some good, bad, and kind of sort of like in the middle news. We'll go over all of it together right here, right now. Let's start off with things on the weekly. So the weekly closed pretty much right at, or ever so slightly above, pretty much right at the 200-day moving average on the weekly, which is this little green line you can see right here. And we did now officially close a weekly candle lower than any of these two weekly candles back here that were also very aggressive selling pressure sort of weekly candles. We closed lower than those. Thankfully, again, we're above the 200-day moving average. We're still closing inside, or I guess above 200 overall, but more importantly, like inside this overall massive green rectangle where the overall demand actually is, which is good to see. And we're still technically holding up this inverted head and shoulders, right? We have the left shoulder, we have the head over here, and of course, we're setting up right now the right shoulder here. So far, so good. Not looking too bad. But there are things that are a little bit concerning. For instance, on the daily, we are still closing below the 200-day moving average, right? We're not really finding a way above that, which is a little bit unfortunate, right? However, the RSI looking like it's wanting to base. It's looking a little bit okay, especially on the 65, right? You can see here as we're technically, honestly, really just going lower. The RSI is obviously rather going higher, right? Setting higher lows while the stock is essentially setting lower lows, at least lower candle closing lows. That's the important part. The RSI measures based on where the candle closed, not where it has been. So for instance, this candle here, it closed all the way up here, but it went all the way down here, right? Close to $202 roughly. But this RSI is based as relative to where the candle closed, not where it went to. So just FYI. But correct me if excuse me, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Excuse me. So there's a few things that are a little concerning. So on top of what I just said on the daily, right? If you go to the 65-minute chart, you can see we are in this potential little bear pennant as well. We were initially in this we were in this little bear flag that we talked about, the one that I showed over here, right? You remember that? Oops. Let me put this back. You remember this one that we talked about it. We fell down right over here, blah, blah, blah. We were talking about that at the beginning of the week, I think it was. But now we're unfortunately also in another bearish situation here, which is essentially a bear pennant, which is these blue lines you see right here. This is the part that's kind of concerning me. I'm not really excited about this. Now, we are, of course, on the fourth touch point, arguably, 1, 2, 3. Third touch point right here, 1, 2, 3, potentially going up to the fourth touch point if we bounce from here, which will bring us pretty much back up almost to that 200-day moving average on the week or on the daily, which is around 213, 214, something like that. And then most likely, in theory, I guess, if it plays out just, the way it technically should, we bounce off of that as well to the downside, and then we break southwards, right? That's kind of how, in theory, it should play out. Doesn't mean it has to, of course. Nothing is guaranteed. But I am personally de-risking ever so slightly. So I sold some of the shares I bought in this area. Some were at profit, but the recent ones I kind of was trying to trade. Sold a little bit of a loss. Nothing major. Very, very minimal loss, but a loss nonetheless. But I'm doing that as a de-risk until this pattern right here essentially confirms a direction, because in theory there's a higher chance that this should play to the downside, which if it does, I think this is what will bring us down to that 180 level we've talked about many times, which of course is going to be the touch point to the bottom of this overall massive bullish flag that we're in, which is a good sign, but unfortunately it means that there is very real potential for more pain ahead before we touch the bottom of it. Same thing with this little situation we find ourselves in right here. So those are the main things that I'm kind of looking at, that I'm kind of concerned about, but also some stuff that are not that bad still, right? Some signs that are giving bulls hope, but there's also some very obvious signs that are dreadful, I guess, to say the least. And the one that's also concerning me is the VIX, right? I talked about this for quite some time, and even back when we were trading all the way over here when the VIX is like sub 20s, we talked about how if the VIX starts getting above 20 and it starts closing above 20 and holding above 20, that's going to be bad for the market. And so far that's been the case, right? Ever since we broke out over here, the market has been seeing some extremely aggressive selling pressure. You can see right here, right? Ever since the VIX started showing, pressure essentially above 20, and it's still doing that, right? It went below 20 briefly this morning, and it's still holding above that, which of course is not great for the markets, which in turn, in theory at least, shouldn't be great for Tesla as well, even though tech kind of did okay today for the day, right? With Tesla up ever so slightly. So those are the main things I'm looking at. Those are the things that are really concerning me. Those are the things I'm kind of just waiting to see them play out, right? The main thing, of course, being this situation we find ourselves here. I'm truly waiting for this to play out. Once it does, I will re-enter. If it falls down below, then great, I'll buy lower than if I were to buy, let's say here, for instance. If it goes up and let's say it does this, right? Let's say it breaks out. Let's say it goes here, comes down a tiny bit and then breaks out and does something like this. Cool. Then I'll buy it a little bit higher, right? Obviously not where it's here, but on the bright side, in my head, I'm also avoiding from what I believe to be a lot of risk, right? Because if we fall from here, I think 180s is next, like 185-ish. I get to avoid a lot of that potential pain coming ahead if it does. If it doesn't and we break out, cool, but I'm buying on confirmation. I'm buying on stronger thesis, essentially. You know what I mean? So that's the way I'm personally playing this situation right here, right now. And I'm going to be waiting for this little pattern to play out because I think it's the most important thing to kind of follow right here, right now. Let's take a quick look at options flow, right? How's options flow looking, right? We have a pretty decent put over here all the way on the right, which you can see, which of course is going to be a January of 2026 expiration, 1.4 million premium, 200 puts. So that's right there. There's a lot of little red dots everywhere, right? Most of them are sitting around 200 to 500 premium, right? A lot of little red dots spread around, right? There's a lot of bearish flow here, right? Again, none of them are like a major whale, like some crazy put or crazy options, flow coming in, but there's a lot of like mediocre ones coming in, and most of them are bearish, right? We have some very short-term bullish ones here, but most of them over here are bearish. So there's definitely some fear in the market. Keep in mind, we also are at CNN Fear and Greed Index, right? We are now, I believe, if we pull up this bad boy here, we have entered extreme fear as well. So that's going to be something to consider, because usually when you enter extreme fear, that usually means the VIX is up. That usually means the market's falling. But this doesn't mean that it has to bounce here. It absolutely can. We'll look at the market briefly as well, but this can easily keep going further down into extreme fear as the market accelerates essentially its losses, right? And looking at SPY, it's not looking ideal, right? I'm not a huge fan of the way SPY looks. You can see we are falling below what I personally wouldn't want to fall below, which is this bottom blue line. Not really happy about that. QQQ on the bright side, looking like it's bouncing where it needs to, right? QQQ looking like it's showing strength exactly where it needed to, which isn't too bad. But it's still like not super duper convincing. We had a bit of an inside day today, actually, which is a good thing to see. So this could be potential reversal for tech. But again, we need to see confirmation early next week, essentially, to see if this is actually like a reversal sign or this is just essentially a trap. So we'll need confirmation. The point I'm trying to make here is the fact that the market is on thin ice. The market is trading in a very speculative situation or fashion right now. And in my opinion, right now, entering a trade, whether it's bullish or bearish, honestly, it doesn't matter. I'm talking about both sides here. It seems very high risk for both aspects, because the market, again, especially like Tesla, you can either, in theory, look at this and be like, well, I'm buying at the bottom of the channel, which is usually a good sign to do, at least in my opinion. And I'll ride it up from here, assuming it bounces. Great. That's assuming it bounces. It can also just completely crash underneath, assuming you have a stop loss, hopefully, right? But, it can just fall underneath here. And then, unfortunately, it's going to continue falling probably, and we will play out this bear pennant. So we are on a bit of a thin ice here for overall, for the market as a whole. So, that's why I'm kind of being a little bit patient here. I'm not really entering too aggressively anymore until I see confirmation one way or the other. And again, because we still expect Tesla to, at some point, like we talked about this, right, many times, at some point, we do expect Tesla to retest this overall, bottom channel of this bull flag, roughly, right, give or take, which again is going to be somewhere around the 180s. I do expect that to happen. Again, we talked about maybe it happens right away. Maybe we get a bounce. Maybe we come up and retest this channel breakdown and then do that, right? That was the question. We weren't sure which one's going to happen first, but I think the bear pennant will give us the direction. If we break to the north side, then at the very least, I think we'll come up to the 21 EMA, which is going to be sitting somewhere around, where is it? That's the weekly, I'm on the daily, which is sitting around 233 right now. I think at the very least, we'll come up to that, assuming, of course, we break 220. Right. So again, if we break above the bull pennant, I think we'll break above 200-day moving average, which is at 215, 216, something like that. Then above 220, then above 233, which is the 21 EMA, and then above that, we'll unlock the potential to retest that channel, which is again around the 240s, right? Kind of mid to low 240s. If we break below this, that's where we continue getting bearish. Maybe we get a bounce off of 200 itself. Maybe we won't, who knows? But the point is if we break below this, then 200 is next. Break below 200, 180s is next. On the bright side, if we go to 180s, again, bottom of the channel, looking pretty good. Hopefully we bounce. If Tesla falls below this channel and we don't bounce though, I don't want to think about that. Let's just say that. I don't want to think about that. If it does, that's going to be really, really bad. And I think we're going to be going to at least the mid 100s, if not potentially even lower. So let's not think about that until it actually happens. And if it does, well, that's going to be very painful times ahead. But that's kind of what I am seeing. Now, don't forget, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we are, of course, still approaching a very bullish month in November, right? We're just around the corner, only about half a week-ish left of October, right? About half of next week. And then we enter on November, which is one of the best months for Tesla and the market as a whole, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and the market as a whole. It's an overall phenomenal month for the market. So we'll see. We'll see. It's just a matter of, do we get a little bit more pain ahead before the bounce, or do we just bounce from here? That to me right now is the question. And I think waiting for this bear pattern to play out is going to give us that answer. And that's exactly what I am doing. So that's kind of what I am seeing right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think down below. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. Other than that, main thing to look at, in my opinion, is the bear pattern. So follow that, and I'll update my members as usual once it does seemingly pick a direction. But all in all, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Peace.